So you are an eternal spiritual being. So we come here, we have a body, and we come here to experience certain lessons in our life. If you don't get the lesson, you repeat it. Everything exists inside of you. Subconscious still means it's there. Sub means under. You will forget who you are so that you can go through the process of life of remembering who you are and remembering these rules.
Have you ever felt it? That quiet, unshakable sense that your story began long before you took your first breath. Like a forgotten melody echoing in the distance, it lingers at the edges of your mind. You might glimpse it in dreams that feel too real to be dreams, or in rare moments of stillness when the noise of the world fades and something ancient stirs within you. This book pulls back the veil, revealing a truth hidden for eons. What really happened before you were born. The pre-birth realm. Before you entered this world, before your first breath, before your first heartbeat, you existed in a realm beyond time. Here, you were not confined to a body. You were not bound by the weight of the physical world. You existed as pure consciousness, expansive, eternal, and deeply aware of the journey ahead. This was the pre-birth realm, the place where souls gather before incarnation, where they choose their path, their lessons, their challenges, and even their parents. Everything you are experiencing in this life, every triumph, every heartbreak, every moment of joy or suffering, was part of a plan that you helped design. In this realm, time does not move in a straight line. There is no past, present, or future. Everything simply is. Souls are not bound to a single lifetime. They exist outside of time, able to see the full picture of existence. You were able to review not only your past lives, but also the infinite possibilities of the life you were about to enter. You saw the patterns that had followed you through lifetimes, the wounds that had yet to heal, the strengths that needed to be cultivated. And from this place of higher knowing, you made a choice. Not just any choice, the choice of who you would become. Nothing in your life is random. Before birth, every soul enters into a sacred agreement, a soul contract. This contract outlines the major experiences, relationships, and lessons you will encounter in your lifetime. Some of these choices were difficult. You knew that coming to Earth meant forgetting your true nature. You knew that you would experience pain, loss, and uncertainty. You knew that there would be moments where you would feel completely alone, moments where you would question everything, and yet you still chose to come. Because beyond the struggle, there was something even greater waiting for you. Growth. Your soul did not choose an easy path. It chose the right path, the one that would push you, expand you, break you open so that you could remember who you truly are. From the pre-birth realm, you saw every possible version of your life. You saw the easy paths, the hard ones, the paths of love, the paths of loneliness, the moments of triumph, and the moments of despair. And you did something extraordinary. You chose the challenges that would shape you. Some souls choose to face illness so they can learn resilience. Others choose poverty to understand gratitude. Some choose betrayal to learn forgiveness. Every hardship, every obstacle, every painful moment, these are not punishments. They are lessons that your soul agreed to before birth. Imagine a mountain climber standing at the base of a massive peak. They do not curse the mountain for being difficult. They chose it, knowing that the struggle would make them stronger. You did the same. One of the most profound choices you made before birth was selecting your parents. Even if your relationship with them has been challenging, even if they hurt you, abandoned you, or failed to love you the way you needed, you chose them for a reason. Perhaps they were meant to be your greatest teachers. Perhaps they were meant to challenge you so that you could rise above their limitations. Or perhaps they were simply the gateway to your physical existence, souls who agreed to bring you into this world so you could walk your own path. Beyond your parents, you also chose the key people who would shape your journey: your friends, your lovers, your enemies, your mentors. Every soul you encounter plays a role in your awakening. Some will break you open, some will remind you of your worth, some will test you in ways you never expected, but none of it is by accident. Even though your soul planned this life, you are not a puppet. You are not locked into one rigid path. You have free will. Your soul contract is like a map, but you decide how to walk the road. You can take detours, you can resist, you can even ignore the plan altogether. But the soul always nudges you back, always whispers reminders through intuition, dreams, and synchronicities. The more aligned you are with your true path, the more life flows. The more you resist, the harder things become. So why did you do this? Why did your soul leave the peace of the pre-birth realm to experience the struggles of human life? Because the soul is not meant to remain still. It is meant to expand. Every pain, every joy, every lesson adds to the vastness of your being. Before birth, you were a soul with infinite knowledge but no experience. Now, you are here, living, feeling, learning. You are turning wisdom into understanding, and when this life ends, when you return to the pre-birth realm, you will not be the same as when you left. You will be more aware, more complete, more powerful. And when the time comes, you will do it all over again. Because the soul's journey never ends, it only evolves. The soul's journey. It's said in many ancient traditions that the soul's journey begins with longing. In the Bhagavad Gita, the soul is described as eternal, indestructible, and forever seeking. But what is it seeking? Why would something perfect desire anything at all? The answer lies in the great mystery of creation itself. Like a flame yearning to spread its light, you longed to know yourself in ways that were impossible within the unity of the eternal. You craved experience, contrast, and the adventure of discovering who you could become. And so, a choice was made. The sages of old speak of this moment in whispers, calling it the Great Forgetting. To enter the physical world, you had to agree to forget what you were. Imagine, for a moment, holding a treasure so vast it defies comprehension, only to lock it away and throw away the key. That is what you did, not because you were forced to, but because you understood that forgetting was the only way to truly remember. It was the only way to grow. But this was no small sacrifice. The light you were accustomed to would dim, fading to the point where you might even doubt its existence. The unity you shared with all things would shatter into the illusion of separation. Worst of all, you would face fear, raw, overwhelming fear. Fear of pain, fear of loss, fear of the unknown. Yet, even as you prepared for this plunge, something extraordinary happened. A promise was made. Many ancient texts speak of this promise. In the book of Isaiah, there's a verse that says, "I will not forget you. See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands." This wasn't just poetic language, it was a reminder. Before you left that infinite light, you were given a gift, a spark, a fragment of the eternal that would stay with you, no matter what. It would hide in your heart, quiet but unyielding, waiting for the moment you were ready to remember. The journey to Earth wasn't immediate. You didn't simply step from one world into another. First came the preparations. You studied the lives you might live, the paths you might walk. You met with others who would play key roles in your story. Some of these souls were old companions, bonded to you through countless lifetimes. Others were new, their energies unfamiliar yet magnetic. Together you crafted intricate plans, mapping out relationships, challenges, and the lessons you hoped to learn. but nothing was guaranteed. That's the beauty and terror of free will. You knew, even then, that once you entered the world, anything could happen. The plan was merely a guide, not a script. You could deviate, fail, or forget entirely, and yet you chose to proceed, trusting in the unseen forces that would guide you back if you ever strayed too far. As you drew closer to the moment of birth, the veil thickened. The memories of what you were began to fade. In some traditions, this moment is marked by the presence of an angel. In Jewish folklore, it is said that an angel presses its finger to the lips of an unborn child, leaving the faint indentation we call the philtrum. This gesture seals the soul's knowledge, ensuring that the journey ahead is one of discovery, not recollection. And then it happened. The moment of birth is often described as traumatic, a violent expulsion into a world of light and sound. But what few realize is that birth is not just a beginning, it's also a severance. In that instant, you were torn from the realm you had known for eternity, thrust into a body that felt impossibly small and fragile. The light you had been surrounded by was now reduced to a flicker, a distant memory you couldn't quite grasp. But the spark remained. From the moment you took your first breath, the world began to shape you. The people around you, the circumstances of your birth, even the geography of your new home, all of it conspired to mold you into the person you were meant to become. Yet deep within, the spark of the eternal waited, like a seed buried in the soil, ready to bloom when the time was right. The journey ahead would not be easy. There would be moments of joy so profound they would take your breath away. But there would also be pain, loss, and the gnawing emptiness that comes from forgetting who you truly are. Still, the promise held firm. No matter how lost you felt, no matter how far you strayed, the spark would always be there, guiding you back to the light. And so, your story began, not with birth, but long before. You were not a blank slate, as some would have you believe. You were and are a soul on a journey, carrying with you the echoes of a life beyond this world. The path ahead is yours to walk, but the truth is simple. You are more than you can imagine. You always have been. This is just the beginning. The labyrinth of forgetting. There is a moment in every soul's journey when the silence becomes unbearable. It happens slowly, so slowly that you don't notice it at first. The distant hum of something greater, something vast and familiar, begins to fade. You are too young to name the loss, too fragile to understand the weight of what is slipping away. But it happens all the same. This is the first great tragedy of birth, forgetting. The ancient Greeks spoke of Lethe, the river of forgetfulness. It was said that before a soul could enter the world of the living, it had to drink from its waters, wiping away all memories of what came before. In some stories, a few drops were enough to dull the edges of eternity, but in others, souls were made to drink deeply, drowning in oblivion. Whether this was truth or metaphor, the effect was the same. The instant you arrived, you were no longer the being you had been. At first, the forgetting was merciful, the warmth of a mother's embrace, the rhythm of a heartbeat that had once been your entire world. These sensations became your anchor. You did not question why you were here. You simply existed, floating in a haze of soft sounds and dim light. But time moved forward, and the world around you demanded your attention. Faces became familiar, words took shape. You learned pain, hunger, and longing. And with every new piece of knowledge, something else slipped away. But forgetting was not accidental. You had agreed to it, though you could no longer remember why. The life you had chosen, the body, the place, the circumstances, was not random. You had been part of the decision, but knowing the plan beforehand would have ruined the purpose of the journey. Imagine walking into a labyrinth with a map in hand. There would be no adventure, no discovery, no lessons to learn. The only way to truly experience the path was to wander it blind. And so, you wandered. Some souls remembered fragments, echoes of something more. A child who spoke of places they had never seen, a dream so vivid it felt like a memory, a sense of knowing people before meeting them. But these glimpses were fleeting. The world around you was relentless in its insistence that this was all there was. Parents, teachers, society, they told you what was real, and anything beyond that was dismissed as imagination. But deep inside, something rebelled. The Buddhists call it dukkha, the suffering that comes from separation. Even if you had everything the world told you to want, love, success, security, there would always be an emptiness, a whisper that something was missing. It wasn't the desire for more wealth or pleasure. It was the ache of something deeper, something no material thing could satisfy. You had known perfection once. You had known unity. Now all you knew was longing. And so the search began. Every soul embarks on this search, whether they realize it or not. Some seek it in love, hoping that another person will fill the emptiness. Others chase it through knowledge, through art, through the pursuit of beauty. Some numb themselves, trying to silence the ache with distractions. But the truth is this: the search is not for something outside of you. It is for what was lost. And here is the secret they do not tell you. Forgetting was never complete. The spark remains. It has always remained. It hides beneath the layers of conditioning, buried under years of doubt and distraction, but it cannot be erased. It waits for you in quiet moments, in the stillness of night, in the spaces between thoughts. It speaks in the language of intuition, of déjà vu, of inexplicable knowing. And sometimes it calls loudly. There are moments when the illusion cracks, when something, a conversation, a book, a sudden shift in perspective, shakes you to your core. In that instant, you remember, not in words, not in clear images, but in feeling. A rush of recognition, an overwhelming sense that this world is not all there is, that you are more than you seem. These moments are sacred, but they are also terrifying. Because if you begin to remember, everything you thought was real begins to unravel. The identity you built, the beliefs you held, the way you have navigated this world, it all comes into question. And the world does not encourage questioning. It wants you to stay asleep. This is why so many turn back. It is easier to forget, dismissing those moments as coincidences and laughing off the idea that there could be something more. The world rewards forgetting. It rewards conformity. But the search does not end simply because you ignore it. The ache remains, the longing persists, and if you do not listen now, it will return again and again until you do. The hidden architects of destiny. Not everything was forgotten. Yes, you drank from the river of forgetting. You let go of all that you had once known, and you surrendered yourself to the uncertainty of a new life. But before you entered this world, before the veil fell over your mind, you were not alone. There were witnesses. Ancient texts, from the Vedic scriptures to the mystic traditions of the Gnostics, speak of a council of beings, guides, architects, or watchers who oversee the journey of souls. Some call them angels, others call them ascended masters, and some simply know them as the elders. These are not rulers, nor are they gods. They are something different, custodians of choice, keepers of the sacred contract. And they were with you before you came here. In that space before birth, you did not wander blindly. You stood before these ancient ones, and together you crafted the blueprint of your existence. Every major event, Every hardship, every relationship of significance was placed along your path like stepping stones in a vast and intricate maze. You were not forced into anything, you chose. But why would anyone choose suffering? Why would a soul willingly step into a world of pain, loss, and struggle? Because you knew something then that you struggle to remember now. Growth does not happen in comfort. Imagine an artist who has never known failure. Their work, untouched by struggle, lacks depth. Or a warrior who has never faced a true challenge. What would they know of strength? The soul, too, is an artist, a warrior, a seeker. And so, before birth, you placed obstacles in your way, not as punishments, but as teachers. But even then, you knew you might forget. This is why symbols were woven into your story, clues, reminders, echoes from the world before. Some came in the form of people, souls you had known long before this lifetime. They would cross your path at precisely the right moment, speaking words that triggered something deep within you. Others came as dreams, flashes of understanding that seemed to rise from nowhere. And then there were the numbers. Many mystic traditions believe that numbers hold a sacred resonance, a vibration that connects this world to the unseen. Pythagoras, the ancient philosopher and mathematician, taught that numbers were the language of the divine. Have you ever noticed certain numbers appearing again and again in your life? The time on a clock, a street address, a date that seems to follow you. These are not coincidences. They are echoes of the blueprint you helped design, signals placed along your path to stir your memory. But the greatest reminders, the ones you could never escape, were written into your very being. The great poet Rumi once said, "You were born with wings. Why prefer to crawl through life?" He understood that the body itself is a message. Your desires, your fears, your talents, the things that make your heart race with excitement, these are not random. They are remnants of the choices you made before you arrived. That deep pull toward music, toward healing, toward a cause greater than yourself. That was a decision, a promise you made to yourself long ago, and yet the world does everything in its power to make you forget. From the moment you are born, you are bombarded with voices telling you who you should be. Parents, teachers, society, they impose their expectations upon you, drowning out the whispers of your soul. They tell you to be realistic, to be practical, to follow the rules. But here is what they do not tell you. The rules were never yours to begin with. The moment you entered this world, you were placed inside a system designed to limit your remembering. You were taught that reality is fixed, that the physical world is all there is, that your worth is measured by status, wealth, and approval. You were trained to believe in lack, in fear, in separation. But the soul knows better. This is why, no matter how deeply you bury yourself in the distractions of the world, something inside of you refuses to be silenced. A restlessness, a yearning, a quiet voice that asks, "Is this really all there is?" And if you listen closely, if you strip away the layers of doubt and conditioning, you will hear something else, a memory, faint but undeniable, a reminder of the truth you once knew so clearly. You are not here by accident. The challenges before you are not meaningless. The people in your life, especially the difficult ones, are not random. You came here for a reason, and if you dare to remember, if you look beyond the illusions of this world, you will begin to see the path you laid for yourself long ago. The blueprint is still there, waiting. The architects are still watching, guiding, whispering. And the choices you made before birth are calling you back, urging you forward, leading you home. The veil between worlds. To enter this world, you had to pass through something few ever speak of. You had to pass through the veil. Many cultures and spiritual traditions describe a barrier that separates this world from the one before it. The ancient Celts called it the thin place, where the spirit world brushes against the physical. The Tibetan Buddhists speak of the bardo, a transitional state between lives where the soul prepares for rebirth. The mystics of old understood that this boundary was not just physical, but mental, a shroud that blocked the memories of what came before. You did not simply step through and awaken in a new body. No, the transition was layered and deliberate. You had to let go, piece by piece. First, you release your awareness of eternity, narrowing your consciousness into something small enough to fit within a single lifetime. Then, you shed the full memory of your past lives, though echoes remained, those strange moments of déjà vu, the inexplicable pull toward places and people you have never known. But the final part of the crossing, the one no soul could avoid, was the surrender of your knowing. You had to forget who you were, not just your past, but your essence, your vastness, the limitless power that was once second nature. The veil wrapped around you, dimming your light, pressing your soul into the confines of flesh and bone. And when the forgetting was complete, you opened your eyes for the first time and gasped for breath. This was your first moment in the world of form. This was birth. But the veil was never absolute. There were cracks in it, fractures through which the old world still whispered. Some souls never fully forget. They arrived in this life remembering things they should not know, recalling details of other existences, and seeing things beyond the ordinary. Mystics, prophets, seers, those who still had one foot in the world before birth. For most, however, the veil was near impenetrable. This is why the world feels empty at times, why loneliness weighs so heavily on the heart. It is not because you are truly alone, but because you have been cut off from the greater connection you once knew. The love you seek in others, the longing for something more, it is the distant echo of what was once so natural to you. And yet, the veil is not a prison. It is a challenge. Like mist in the morning, it shifts, thinning in moments of stillness. Have you ever noticed that the world feels different just before dawn, or in the quiet of night, when everything is still? These are the moments when the veil is at its weakest. There are other ways through it. Dreams, for instance, are not just the mind's wanderings. They are doorways. When you sleep, your consciousness is free from the rigid laws of the physical world. Sometimes, just for a moment, you slip beyond the veil, returning to the realm you once knew. And if you pay attention, if you train yourself to remember, you might glimpse something more: messages, symbols, flashes of truth hidden within the fabric of your dreams. But there is another way, the simplest, yet the hardest. You must remember who you are, not just as a person, not just as a name or a body or a collection of experiences. You must remember yourself as a soul, a being that existed long before this life and will exist long after it. The world will fight you on this. It will tell you to focus on what is in front of you, on survival, on what is tangible and practical. It will distract you with noise, fears, with the endless demands of everyday life. It will whisper that all of this is nonsense, that there is nothing beyond what you can see and touch. But the world does not know the truth. You do. You always have. And when you begin to remember, when you close your eyes and let the echoes of the past rise within you, the veil will thin. The whispers will become clearer, and you will realize that you were never truly lost. The way back has always been within you. The lost language of the soul. Something inside you is trying to wake up. You've felt it before, that strange pull towards something just beyond your grasp, a flicker of memory you can't explain, a feeling that you are meant for more than what this world offers. This is not your imagination. It is the voice of your soul, speaking in a language you once knew but have long forgotten, a language that existed before words, before sound, before time itself. It is the language of symbols, of vibrations, of knowing without needing to be told. And the moment you remember how to listen, the veil begins to thin. The ancient Egyptians believed in Meduneta, the words of the gods. They did not see language as mere speech, but as something sacred, something with the power to shape reality. The Gnostics spoke of Logos, the divine word that brought existence into being. In every great mystical tradition, there is a belief that language is more than just communication. It is a bridge between the seen and the unseen. Before you were born, you spoke this language fluently. You did not use words as you do now. You did not need them. In that space before life, souls communicated in pure thought, in emotion, in direct transmission of meaning. There were no misunderstandings, no half-truths, no lies. You knew another being's essence the moment you encountered them, their history, their wounds, their wisdom. It was all laid bare because there was no need for deception. But when you entered this world, that ability faded. The veil did not just make you forget your past. It made you forget how to listen. It forced you into a world of spoken words, where meaning is broken apart, where truth is buried beneath layers of confusion. You were given a name, a language, a set of rules for how to speak and think and behave. And slowly, the old language, the one you had known before birth, became distant, almost unreachable. Almost, because the soul never forgets completely. This is why certain things stir something deep within you, a song that moves you to tears, though you don't know why, a piece of art that feels like it was meant just for you, a place you've never been, yet somehow recognize. These are fragments of the old language, breaking through the barriers of this world. And the universe speaks it constantly. Numbers, for instance, are not just measurements, they are messages. Pythagoras believed that numbers carried a vibration, a frequency that connected all things. The ancient Chinese saw numbers as symbols of the cosmic order. Many mystics believe that repeating numbers 111, 222, and 333 are not coincidences, but echoes of the soul's blueprint. They are reminders placed along your path to stir something in you, to wake you up. Dreams, too, are written in this lost language. Have you ever had a dream so vivid that it felt more real than waking life? A dream where someone spoke to you without words, where you understood something without needing to be told. That is the language of the soul in its purest form. When you sleep, the grip of the physical world loosens. The mind drifts closer to the realm you once knew, and for a brief moment, the barriers fall away. But the greatest messages, the ones that hold the most power, are written into your very being, your emotions. In this world, emotions are seen as fleeting, irrational, and even inconvenient. But in the realm before birth, they were everything. Emotion was how truth was communicated. It was how energy was exchanged. It was how souls recognized one another. And even here, even now, your emotions are guiding you. That deep excitement, that passion that lights you up from the inside, that is your soul remembering something it was meant to do. That heavy dread, that unbearable weight in your chest, that is your soul warning you, pulling you away from something that is not in alignment with who you are. The problem is that the world teaches you to ignore this. From childhood, you are trained to suppress your emotions, to push down your intuition, and to trust logic over feeling. You are taught that your desires are foolish, that your instincts are unreliable, and that the only truth is the one you are given by others. But what if that is the greatest lie of all? What if the things that move you, the things that ignite something deep within you, are not distractions, but instructions? What if the very things you've been told to ignore are the key to remembering why you came here in the first place? The soul does not speak in commands. It does not demand. It does not force. It whispers. It nudges. It calls to you through the things that make you feel alive. And if you listen, truly listen, you will begin to hear it again, not in words, but in knowing, in the pull of something greater, in the sudden clarity that comes in quiet moments, in the feeling deep in your bones that there is something more waiting for you beyond the noise of this world. Because there is. And the moment you stop looking outside yourself for answers, the moment you turn inward and listen to the language you were born knowing, the veil will begin to lift. And you will remember. The return to knowing. The journey into this world was never meant to be easy. Before you came here, you knew the risks. You knew that the forgetting would be painful, that the illusions of this world would try to trap you. You knew that fear, doubt, and suffering would cloud your vision. And yet, you chose to come. Because beyond the hardship, beyond the struggle, there was something even greater waiting for you. Power. Not the kind of power this world worships: wealth, control, status. Those things are illusions, fleeting distractions from the truth. The real power, the kind you carried before birth, has nothing to do with control over others. It is the power of creation, the power to shape reality with thought, the power to transform, to awaken, to remember. And this is the final test. Not a test given by some outside force, not a punishment or an obstacle placed in your way, but a test you designed for yourself. A test to see if, even in the depths of forgetting, even with the weight of this world pressing down on you, you could still find your way back. The greatest secret, the one hidden in every ancient teaching, every parable, every whisper of truth that has ever made its way into this world, is this: you were never lost. You were never broken. Everything you seek is already within you. The divine spark, the unbreakable soul, the eternal knowing, it has never left you. The only thing that changed was your perception. The moment you stop waiting for permission to be who you already are, the moment you stop believing the lie that you are small, unworthy, or incomplete, the veil shatters, and you see. All along, the world has been trying to wake you up. Have you ever noticed the patterns, the synchronicities that seem too perfect to be random? The repeating numbers, the words that appear at just the right time, the way certain people enter your life exactly when you need them. These are not coincidences, they are reminders, whispers from the part of you that never forgot. And the more you notice them, the more they appear. The more you listen, the louder they become. The universe is not testing you, it is responding to you. The moment you take a step toward remembering, it takes 10 steps toward you. There is only one thing keeping you from stepping fully into this truth: fear. It is the thing that has been used again and again to keep you asleep. But here is the greatest revelation of all: fear is not real. Not in the way you think. Yes, the world has pain. Yes, loss and suffering exist. But the fear that rules you, that keeps you small, that tells you to stay where you are and never reach beyond the familiar, that fear is a lie, a shadow with no substance. The moment you face it, truly face it, it crumbles. And on the other side, you will find something waiting for you: freedom. You can reclaim the knowing that has always been yours. You can walk into the world not as a lost and broken soul, but as a being of infinite light, here to create, to experience, to expand. But this is a choice only you can make. No one can do it for you. No book, no teacher, and no outside force can awaken you if you do not choose to awaken yourself. And if you choose to step forward, to embrace the truth, to shatter the illusion, everything will change. Not because the world will change, but because you will. And when you do, you will see what was hidden all along. You were never just a person. You were never just a name, a body, or a collection of memories. You were, and always will be, the infinite looking through human eyes. And now, you remember. The forbidden book is no longer forbidden, because now it lives within you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.